pleasure. Please welcome Salma Hayek. Well, we just saw that trailer for this quite beautiful and unusual animated film, in which you're not just one of the voice actors, but also one of the producers. So I guess the best place to start is to talk a little bit about how you became involved with this project, and then maybe to talk a little bit about this source material, which is not maybe the most typical book one would think of to be turned into an animated feature, a book of essays from the 1920s.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I'm very excited to talk to you. Maybe I start with the source, and then we go into the movie. I found the book when I was really, really little, because my grandfather, who was Lebanese, always had it on his bedside table. So the book has a drawing, the face of a man, the original book, and it's actually a drawing by Khalil Gibran, who was also an artist. And I used to look at this man, and to me, he made me think of my grandfather. You know, he reminded me as if that man was my grandfather. Then my grandfather died when I was 6. And this was the first strong spiritual lesson that he gave to me. Because we were very, very close. And it was the first death that I experienced that was close to me. And I believe that you don't start really becoming curious about the mysteries of life until you encounter death that close. And so I was kind of traumatized by this death. And then when I was about 18, I found the book somewhere in someone's house. I recognized the picture, and I borrowed it. I read that it said the prophet. I didn't know even the name, I just knew the man. And when I read this book, to me, it was as if my grandfather was talking to me about life and teaching me all the things about life that he didn't get to teach me when he was in his body, and a little bit about who he was and where he came from. So of course this book is very personal, it's very special to me. But not all the books that are special to one would make a good movie. And as a matter of fact, I think many people try to think of how to do it, and they always, the first thing that would come into their mind was to do it live action. Another little problem about this book was that Khalil Gibran left the rights to the book to his village. You know that saying? It takes a village to get them all to agree. To give the rights to anyone, it was not easy. So Steve Hansen, this lovely man who has nothing to do with the movie business, who loved the book, decided to make a film for the first time in his life about this very simple book to turn into a film. And he fought for those rights for 8 years. Then he thought he was going to make it live action, then he realized that making a film was not as easy as he thought at the beginning. Then he went to an actual really good producer, Clark Peterson, my partner, who eventually took it to me. And I wanted to make the film, but when you love a movie, and this has happened to me before, I've loved books that I've passed on the movie. Because when you love a book, if you're going to destroy the book that you love, it's a horrible responsibility. You might as well not do it. So it was not until I came up with this idea that I got really excited, and I actually had a vision of what the movie could be, and that actually the movie could be a lot more than just a regular movie.
These are some heavy themes for a movie that's ostensibly aimed at children and families and that sort of thing. thing, but I think when we think of a lot of the great family films, they touched on these kind of ideas, whether it was Bambi and the death of Bambi's mother and these kind of things. Was there any pushback at any point from the people giving you the money or from potential distributors?
Well, first of all, nobody wanted to give me the money. So that in itself was a miracle that we got the money. Then everything about the film we wanted to do in the spirit of Khalil Gibran. And there are so many things in this film that are symbolic. Everything is very well thought out and premeditated. And one of the bigger thoughts involving children, teenagers, and young adults was that the people that control this industry, sometimes, a lot of the times, they're under the impression that their intelligence is way below where their intelligence is. That's number one. Number two, their thirst. There's a lot of people, kids, young adults, teenagers, who are profound thinkers. And they don't get anything out there that can feed that part inside of them. And this creates a lot of anxiety. They're medicating children. You know, the young people now, they're looking for love in all the wrong places because there is this thing that it's something is missing, and there's this sense of anxiety. And if you look at most of the music, most of the films, most of the content that they watch on television for teenagers, it's very shallow. And my generation was not so much like that. There's also not a lot of connection, human connection, which makes it even harder. If you say the word connection to the new generations, they think of the internet. And this is true. And the fastest, best way of dating is, again, through the machine. So we're losing a lot of that connection. We made this film with the hope that it will create two connections. The first one, to yourself. Connect to yourself. And to this, I have to say, I was very curious why this Arab writer sold more than 120 million copies of this book. He unites all religions. He unites all creeds, different countries, generations. What is it about these words that it put all people with very different people with many different philosophies together? And it's because it talks about the simple things of life that bring us together. Love, death, eating and drinking. And he does it in a way that it's kind of, it's subtle, but you see what happens when you read some of these poems is a line here, a line there stands out, and it feels familiar, not because your brain heard it in the past, but because another place inside of you simply recognizes it as the truth. And it's like your soul letting you know, that place where you instinctively, it's comfortable to hear this, because they're just truth that unite us. So the first connection is to yourself, because the film, what it does, I'm sorry I'm talking too much.
It's great. It's great.
Interrupt me with the questions.
No, keep going.
But it's a big concept. It's a very different film, and I'm very excited to talk about it because we really tried to do an experiment. And it was very brave, and it was very scary. But we created a story that it's a framing story, that it's done with earth colors, because it's supposed to bring you back to earth, that it's done in the old style of animation, because everybody's supposed to feel like a child when you start watching the film, and that it's a very simple story. And yes, there are some themes that might be heavy, but it's everyday life.
the freedom of speech and the courage to fight for the things that you believe. But most important, because that's political and it's not a political film, to fight for the theme of having your own voice in a world that is designed to turn us all into consumers. It's very important. And here comes the other subliminal part. The little girl, it's a little girl looking for her voice. And you will be surprised, the children who are closer to their spirit, who are starving for things that can identify some of their anxieties, subconsciously have a very interesting trip because they recognize all those symbols because they're more pure than we are. And so this little girl, I've been working with women's rights for a long time. We don't have a voice of our own. We have been trying to survive within systems that were created by men. We don't even know exactly what are our real concepts of things because we have to build them around what is acceptable. So this girl is not accepted by this little town. She also acts out and she steals and she creates havoc. And then there is the mother, like many mothers today, who have to raise their children on their own, even when there's sometimes the fathers sleeping in that bed, but the mothers are still raising the children on their own. Many times they have to provide for their children, and they lose that connection, and they don't know how to communicate with them anymore because they're busy putting the food on their table. This is not so hard for the kids to understand. That the father died, now there's a poet, and he's arrested. Why? What's his crime? Poetry. It's good that the kids know that there is this kind of thing happening in the world. He explains it in a very simple way. But then comes the jewel of the film and it's the poems. Within this story, we have 8 of his poems, and in these poems, and also there is a design, visual and symbolic, there's another theme that we should talk about, which is freedom in the film, but let's think about connection. You get to not escape your life, which is normally what you do in films. You are entertained, it's light, it's not preachy. You will have a good time with your children and with your parents. But it's a moment that it's yours. It's for you, not to escape from your life, but to remember the beautiful things about life.
Well,
so you reconnect with you.
Let's take a look at one of the poems from the film. It's one of my favorites of the 8. It's on marriage, and it seems to relate very well to what you were just talking about.
It's not the whole poem. I wanted to show you some of the poems, but it's a clip from it.
Now, one of the ideas visually in the film is that each of the poems is animated in a different style, some quite classical and some almost kind of avant-garde with shapes and lines and colors and things like that. Can you talk a bit about how that idea came about and how you got the director Roger Allers involved, who some people may know as the director of The Lion King?
Yeah, so the framing story, it's done by Roger Allers, who did the Lion King, and he is the loveliest man, and he also wrote the story, and he came up with the concept of making it more earthy, and we were very, very lucky to get him. Nobody got paid in this movie. Which is good, because when you don't have money, then you know all the people that are working in this film are doing it from the heart. This is a handmade film made with love. And then we have, it's in 2D, and he was very familiar with this, although he did a lot of the early Disneys and then some later on. Then we have 8 of the most extraordinary artists in the world, and again with the idea of doing the film in the same philosophy as Khalil Gibran. One of the themes of the film is freedom. So first of all, we gathered different artists from different religions and beliefs, many different parts of the world, different ages, and what we did is we gave them a poem, or they chose a poem that was already chosen for the story, and then for the first time in history, we said, you are completely free to do whatever you want with it. And it was important that we didn't tell them a color palette or this style of animation, that style of animation. They were free. If they wanted to use computer, or there's some watercolors. I'd like to talk about one, to me, that blows my mind, because it's a woman who invented a technique, clay with paint, and she works on a hard surface, and she does the whole animation with one finger. And there's no cuts. So there's no editing. She starts painting, and it looks like Van Gogh. It's really sublime. I mean, she didn't work. She starts painting, and she films, and then she continues to paint. A little bit later, films again, and she doesn't change the surface. It's all on top of what she's doing. She's transforming image into another image, into another image. Then we have Bill Plimpton, who does it with, just like regular kids' colors, and he's amazing too. I mean, he's a very, very famous, very recognized animator. But each one of them also bring their point of view on Khalil Gibran's words, so that it's not one point of view, so that your experience is not, nobody's telling you what to think, how to see something. It is your time for you to make the film yourself. And I think that what really works for also is that we're not just talking about freedom. It's probably the main theme of the film. But we wanted the audience to experience freedom. And the first thing that we need to free ourselves from, it's ourselves. And our program in the head, oh, I know this is going to happen. I know what's going to happen next. I know. Instead of this, you don't know when. You know something's going to happen, but you don't know when, and you have no clue what it's going to look like or in which form, because sometimes it's a song. So it keeps the spectator open and experience the freedom as they're watching the film.
Well, let's take a look at another small clip of the on freedom sequence appropriately. Now, this movie is opening on Friday. We're sort of still in the height of the summer movie season with these big blockbusters eating up all of the media attention, Jurassic World and that kind of thing. Has it been challenging to kind of get awareness of this film out there in the marketplace?
With the $3 that we have for marketing, it's been nearly impossible. I mean, the only reason is because this is costing us nothing except my time, and this is why I get to talk to you. So the film really relies on the people, the champions that are gonna go see it, and if they like it, that are gonna talk about it or tweet about it, or use their disconnected social media to connect to others that are also disconnected, so that you can find a film that is gonna connect you to yourself. But the film was done. One of the problems, especially the critics, we should talk about the critics for a moment. Because you retire, so I can. Is it for children or is it for adults? And immediately they need to know what's the box. It's for human beings. It's trying to make a call to your humanity. We forget we're human. One of the most beautiful things that I've experienced watching the reaction of the people that see the film, so many men cry. And I will tell you why. because they are very tough when there are problems and where there is tragedy. They're used to it. But the film is not sad. When somebody tells them, your children are not your children, they're the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And they are not expecting this, and when it's sung by Damien Rice, and when somebody tells them, you know, love can be so difficult, but when it calls for you, you must follow it. It are things that are not talking to them like, this is the feminist movie and you are this and that. This is the macho movie. Yes, it's fun. Boom, let's fun. All of a sudden, somebody is aiming for a place inside a man that it's not usually touched. And it's very simple. And for the children, I want to use this as an example. They say, but the children, they don't like poetry. Listen, children, their first language is metaphors. This is why the nursery rhymes work so well with children. But we don't need any language in this movie to tell the poetry, because we tell the poetry through images. And they respond a lot more to images and art than any words you can say to them, and to music. So it's also them being respected as intelligent human beings. But of course, how do we market this film? Nowhere, because there is no box for films that are spiritual or that are, visually spiritual. There is no box for this film. And we are, of course, competing with the huge ones that give you everything digested, and it's very comfortable, and everybody knows what it's going to be, and everybody knows they must take their children because it's all over the television, and the children are programmed. This is the new film, and my mom has to take me so that I can tell my friends that I saw it. And so it's a struggle, but somebody asked me, but is it for all the children? I said, I don't know. Maybe it's just for the ones that have the potential to change the world and create a better future for all of us. And you know what? That's good enough for me, even if it's a small box.
Before I take questions from the audience, I wanted to ask you about one thing that's maybe not directly related to the movie, but maybe it has some connections, which is you are on the cover of Allure magazine this month in a revealing photo shoot, and in the accompanying interview you talk about the fact that you've had no Botox, no plastic surgeries of any kind. You're 48, you look fabulous.
Almost 49. Don't take my year away, I suffered it.
But as you were saying earlier, there's a lot of women have to make their way in this world in male-dominated industries like Hollywood, and even though you have sort of managed to get to this point, and you're thriving as an actress and a producer, and you've done it your way, do you hear a lot from younger actresses, other young women trying to get into this business, that there is still a lot of pressure in these other respects about body image and all of that?
This is not having anything to do with Hollywood. Society puts a lot of pressure on women. You see, before it was a little bit different, but now it's very strange because we are fighting for equality, but we are right now at a space where we don't get the same pay, we don't get the raises or the promotions in the same criteria than the man. However, there's a lot more expectations. You have to work, you have to be successful at your job, you have to be a good mother, you still have to deal with the house, you still have to deal with all the things, with the schooling, if the kid gets sick, with the children, and on top of it, you have to look hot. You cannot age. You cannot gain weight. And it's like impossible, all of it, you know? And, and so there's, I'm sorry, and I have to answer these questions, and I'm happy to answer these questions. Bring them on. But it's true, and it's like, oh my God, this is a woman, and she is or this is a Mexican that got a job that's not in the fields. Oh my God. One thing that the movie is all about also community and including everyone, not being fast to judge. You will see there's like every message that you can think of, we packed it in there. But one thing that I love about making this film is shining a light to the fact that it was an Arab woman, an Arab man that wrote these words that bring us all together. And if we go through each one of the poems, he was so ahead of his time. But when he talks about marriage, this was written in 1923, he talks about men and women as two equal pillars that hold a temple. It's an Arab man talking about this. So we have equality in it. We have them all the issues that make me a short, angry woman. A short, angry Mexican Arab woman. I mean, if you want to get angry, if you are an Arab or a Mexican and you want to be angry, come to America, because look, already like the Mexicans, they are treated at the bottom. And then the Arabs too, and if you are Arab Mexican, I don't know, there's like nowhere else to go. Hell. But it helps break a lot of these stereotypes that are so silly. I say I'm angry because sometimes it's good to be angry, but I have a fantastic sense of humor about my challenges and about my anger. And I turn it around. I mean, when I hear the ignorance, instead of being hurt, I go, oh my God, you poor devil. You are so ignorant, and you don't even know it. You don't even know what you're seeing, and it sort of makes me feel sorry for them in a strange way. Not in a condescending way, but love, it's a fantastic thing. To be so greedy with it and not just love everybody until they stab you, or maybe, if depends how deep is the stab, you can always forgive and love again, but to be educated in a way to feel fear or anger at somebody that's just passing by, that has done nothing to you. Who do you think it affects the most? It's not nice to live in fear. It's not nice to live in ignorance. But there's some ignorances that can be quite nice, but denial can be such a powerful tool. But it's sort of poor in spirit.
At this point, I will take questions for the short, angry Mexican Arab woman to my right from the audience. You, sir, in the blue there. Just wait for the microphone to come.
Hello. Hi, Selma.
Hello.
When you have a passion project like this, something that resonates with you as a young girl, that you take on and nurture like a child, and you want to share with the world.
Stop. Notice everybody how he said, as a young girl. Continue.
Well, when you discovered the book with your grandfather, you were a young girl. That's where I was coming from. It still resonates with us as adults too, But comparing that to another passion project like Frida, how is it similar? How is it different? did that project help better prepare you to take this one on? You know, given the challenges, or the challenges similar, are they different, that type of thing?
Lots of similarities and lots of things that are completely different. Doing animation, and I went in knowing nothing. I was sometimes ignorance can really give you the first courage to go, because you don't know how hard it's going to be. It's a completely different ball game. It's very, very, very complicated and expensive. And there's not like you can edit after every decision. It stays like it is from the beginning. Completely different process. So for me, it was something completely new. There's a lot of similarities, though. I tend to do things that are very, very visual. Frida was a visual proposition. We've been copied so much after that, but I produced a television show called Ugly Betty, that now there's a lot of things that look like that, but we were the first one. We were the first show that looked like that. It was very vibrant in colors. They all have a strong girl, a female character, that is a fish out of water. Maybe the one theme that can put them all together is the courage to be unique and accept yourself for who you are and celebrate your differences. So there are a lot of music, very important. So that's who I am. When I act, I express someone else's voice, including my character. When I do something that I start from scratch, although I have to confess, I detest producing. It is the worst thing. It takes over your life. I always say it is, you have to go through the nightmare to make the dream come true. I don't like it. But there's things I want to say that are mine. And so there are similarities in all of them if you really study them, and it's a fantastic question, because it's kind of my own madness, you know? But there's the other thing that's been very similar is that every time I'm gonna do it, I always hear, "You're crazy. This will never get done." And when I hear this word, "this will never get done," is where the car goes from park to automatic and goes shoo. Because something about that phrase just makes me want to do it all the more. And it gives me the gasoline to endure, because it's always hell. It's so difficult. I struggled till the last minute. Still today, you know, there was we had very, very, very good reviews. And there was one bad review that said, "No, this film is not good. It's like a self-help fantasia." I thought that was beautiful. He thought he was insulting me because the critics are very cynic. They think if they're very cynic, they're very clever and highbrow. And I love good cynicism. I mean, it's fantastic. But that's not all we are. And some way, a lot of some critics are insecure, and when they're watching, they're trying to think what the other ones are thinking or what they're gonna say, instead of the good ones who just take it in. And so, you know, even now I'm struggling even with that cynic, like I did with Frida. And young people are not interested in philosophy. Ooh, that's a really dangerous state of mind. That's really special in times like today. They're looking for a purpose, and they're gonna find it somewhere. And so even till the last day, you will see the film comes out. How many theaters do you think is coming out on Friday? 2. Only one in New York and only one in LA. So we'll get your tickets because we're selling out. But wait, it was the same with Frida. Frida was going straight to HBO because they said it was trash. And I begged, give me one movie theater in New York, just like one. And then once I got it, give me one in LA, just 2 movie theaters. And of course, it came out in 2 movie theaters, and it took a life of their own. And so, so far, I proved, this is such an evil side of me, but it gives me such a satisfaction. It's awful, I accept it. And that's not why I did it. Oh my God, but the pleasure I experience when I prove the cynics wrong. The people that don't dare to try something new, that give it for granted that things are never gonna see a day of light because they're different. And I'm all about celebrating different and differences. So when I prove them wrong, I get so happy. Please help me prove them wrong with this one, because so far, every single time, they've been wrong. Imagine when I was going around saying in Freedom, can I please, I want to sell you this project. Would you do this project with me? It's about artists. In this time, every film that had come out about artists flopped. Already in this moment, you could see their face. Oh, but wait, no, it's a beautiful period piece. It's about this Mexican artist. Oh, in this moment, it was like, oh my God. And then I said, no, but it's a really interesting story. They're communists. Oh my God, now they're starting to try to pretend they got a phone call or something. And then I said, okay, this is the wrong way to sell it. No, you got me all wrong. It's a beautiful love story between a hairy, crippled woman and an overweight, ugly man. You know? And so it was impossible. Same with this one, you know? The Prophet, it sells 120 million copies around the world. Yes, it's a fantastic book. I want to make it into an animated children's film. But it's a philosophy book. Yes! Isn't that great? So it was completely, and I said, but look, it was written by an Arab man. It's important that in these times. Oh, no, you know. Even philosophy, but it was written by an Arab man. It was a philosophy book about an Arab man for children. It just, they never read the film, most of the book, most of these people. They had no idea. So they just hear operative words. Arab, philosophy, book, animated movie for children. Just the equation didn't just add up. So the thing that they've been very similar is same with Ugly Betty. Let's make a Colombian telenovela about this ugly girl that works in the fashion industry. It just never made sense. But to me, it always did, because I always look at the bigger picture.
Thank you.
Ma'am in the back there, in the black, yes.
That's a woman.
Yes, I said ma'am, ma'am.
A man.
Y
Okay.
mexicana.
Okay, bien, the man in the back.
No, you're fine. You're one of mine. So, first of all, let me tell you something. Two quick questions before two quick things before my
I'm gonna
question.
be fast now with it.
Okay.
Sorry.
First of all, your Instagram account is the best one. I love it.
Thank
It's
you.
quirky. It's funny. It's honest. Straight to
I
the
do
point.
it myself.
I love it.
Suck at it.
It's the
but
best thing that ever happened to Instagram
Thank you,
this year.
thank you.
Second one, I have the obligation as a Mexican woman born and raised in Mexico like you, that what you did with Frida was amazing. Last week I was in Mexico City for work, and I had to pay a visit to La Casa Azul for the third time. It was the first time after watching your movie many years ago. And
That's the blue house where she lived.
yes. And it's nice to kind of like have a reference of your movie to tell my friends about who Frida was. So whoever told you that it was like a whatever ugly movie, like, you know what? Que se vayan mucho la chingada, ¿no?
No, yes. After when it came out, they ate their words. But
Exactly.
before-
Wonderful. So I'm sure you learned a lot from Frida that you got those elements into this new movie. What was the biggest lesson that you got from making the prophet that you want to transmit into the new movie, that you think that you're gonna take from making the prophet, and you say, like, you know what, this is what I'm looking forward to my next project? The biggest lesson that you got.
It was such a personal journey that it would be unfaithful of me to take any of it to anywhere else. It's not part of a machine. It was a personal experience for every single person that worked in it. We were very brave. We didn't say, okay, but we'll do this here. No. We did some things. We did create a formula. But it was a formula for you to make the film. And so I think it also reconnected me with my grandfather. I don't want to bore you with my mushiness. I mean, it just, the trip to Lebanon, what it did to the Lebanese people. I've run into Lebanese people in other places that were there at the time, and I run into them in different places, and what they repeat to say is like, the spirit of the country changed. It did something to the spirit of the Lebanese people in Lebanon that are going through such hard times. I mean, it's such and I think with Frida, I had my own things there too, but your children are not your children. This baby is born, and it's not mine anymore. It's yours, it's every single one of yours. And maybe the thing that taught me the most, a lot of lessons of humbleness, but I learned it in Lebanon because I was very worried. I've never done anything that didn't make the money back. I have an allergy to debt. It is the most horrible sensation one can experience. It's so excruciating. I hate owing anything to anyone. I'm sure everybody understands what I'm talking about. It's humiliating. And I asked for this money. And I had such pressure. My God, what if I don't make the money back? We were not able to sell some territories. Some people wouldn't even see it. And I really had this nightmare of the money, the investors, I have to give them their money back. And one of my investors was a bank from Lebanon. And the Lebanese were good with the money. They like the money. They're protective. I'm not saying this in a bad way. And so, after this experience, the representatives of the bank came to me and said, it almost makes me want to cry. He said, you know what? I never thought I would hear myself this in my entire life. But we don't care about the money anymore. If we don't make our money back, it doesn't matter. This little jewel and what it's done to our country, it's far beyond any money that anyone can imagine. And it sort of freed me. And then a friend of mine said to me, you know, when you make a contribution from the heart, you have to just let it go and flow. And I cannot worry anymore about the money. Of course, if you can help me get the people to see it, I take the help, not just because of the money, but because I want a lot of people to see it. But it freed me because I was not sleeping. I had this thing and I said, you know what, I'm proud of this film. If it makes the money back, great. If it doesn't make the money back, I'm still super proud of this film and I would do it all over again. Maybe some of the other investors won't do it all over again, but I would.
We'll go down here. Yeah.
Hi, Salma. Thank you. I'm Lebanese, so it's this book has been a huge part of my youth and growing up, and so I am so excited to see the movie. So thank you so much. But what I wanted to ask a question in the producer in you because doing spiritual films is something that there's not much of an audience for, and what kind of advice?
How do
would
you know there's not much of an audience for? We
I
do
have
not
to-
know
yeah,
this.
you're
I will
right.
tell you why, because they're not being made.
Yes.
I can tell you this, in the book industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But because everybody says, oh, no, there's not an audience for this, which is what they're telling me about this film, nobody makes them. So I wanted to challenge that. Says who?
You're
We have
right.
no data because people don't try. They do religious films, and then that fits very well in a box. What religion? Ah, here goes the box. Oh, we know how to market this. Let's get them all in here. As long as you separate people in groups, the system of consumism works really well. When you try to bring them together and gather people from all the different boxes who are interested in coming together, it's impossible because they're all inside of the box and they cannot see what's happening in the other box. So there's really no way, except for one. Human beings. Your voice can make a difference. Now we have social media. Revolutions have already started by people communicating with social media. It's only the destiny of this film, like many others, it's in the hands of the audience, because right now it's almost impossible to have a movie experience anymore in something that is really special. It goes straight to television. This is a mistake for this film. This film has got to be experienced on the big screen. And then you know what? Then you're gonna want to watch it again because you don't get all the words, and this is the kind of film. Then you want to watch it maybe alone, but do not miss on the opportunity of just. Okay, we combine poetry, art, music, and the magic of cinema. And the magic of cinema, it's really magical. It has to do with our connection with rituals. The lights go off, the smell of the popcorn, you drive towards it. It is a respectful ritual to go to have a special moment where there is silence and there is darkness, and then something comes to life. And the film will never be all that it is if you don't watch it in the cinema. But then it has a second life, because I think later on you can watch just the different poems that you want. It's also designed to deconstruct, which is different than other films. You can watch just the story, this poem, that poem. I mean, it's like, you will see. But it's not an anthology.
Here, yeah.
Oh my God, so much for the short answers. Okay, now I'm going to be really short. It has nothing to do with your question.
Lo voy a hacer en español.
And I will translate for the rest of the audience. She said, I'm going to do it in Spanish.
Estoy muy orgullosa de usted
I'm very proud of you.
y le doy gracias por esa maravillosa película.
And I thank you for this wonderful
No le he
movie.
visto, lo poquito que he visto
I have not seen it, but the little that I've seen
me ha trasladado a mi niñez.
has taken me to my childhood.
Los,
Oh, now she's going to make me cry.
los pájaros, el río.
The river, the birds.
Y sí, quiero llevar a mis hijos para que lo vean y se conecten con ese mundo maravilloso.
And I want to take my children so they can see it and connect to that wonderful world. Thank you so much.
Gracias
Thank you so
y
much.
Dios la bendiga siempre.
Muchas gracias a ti también. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, so I think that's the last one we have time for, this gentleman there, yeah.
What efforts are being made to promote, in community centers or whatever, in connection with this picture, to bring together groups, different religious groups, different people of different nationalities that are.
I'd love to do that. We don't even have the manpower. I mean, we've tried with some communities. We don't even know who they are. I mean, we don't have like Because you see, when they market the films, then they hire a marketing machine that specializes in this box or that box or that box. We don't have the money for the big machines. And so we've tried on our own. Yesterday I was outside of the movie theater where it's going to be. There was a little screening, and there were 2 screenings, and in between, I went outside and I started giving postcards to the passerbys. And you know, it's a great idea. It's hard to identify who they are and who would be, but if you have a community, we'd love to talk to you that you think would be interested in the film. I even told my friend, go put it on your yoga studio. We put the thing, and then, oh, you need to fill out an application, the bureaucracy. Oh my God, can't they just it's really pretty? No, because So it's complicated, but we're trying. We're doing our best.
Are you going to put it on the internet where everybody in the world?
Yes. I just started social media only 3 or 4 months ago, so I don't have millions of followers. I'm also not, again, we're going to talk about my age, but the ones, it's the young ones that have the millions and millions of followers because it's that generation. But we have a website, The Prophet the Movie, at what? Gibran'sProphetMovie.com. And it's all together. And we have, I think, 30,000 followers, and that's it. But it's better worldwide, by the way. But I think it's beginning to pass the word. And I love you for trying to help me and giving me ideas. Thank you so much, and it's very brave of you. So I really appreciate it. And if you have anybody in mind, let us know. We'll try to stalk them.
Unfortunately, we have to stop there, but
Just one more, one more.
One more.
Are you kicking me?
We do have time for a few more.
Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, forget the
All
other.
right. Keep them coming.
Very humiliating. We were having a brainstorm about the promotion, which, by the way, in France are very well organized because the Ministry of Culture is interested, the Ministry of Education is interested. We don't, it's a completely different world in the way things work and in the way they embrace culture and original content. But they asked me, could Valentina play the little girl? And I said, no. Why we don't let her act? She's not. She goes, but you said no too fast. You didn't ask her. Well, I'm not going to ask her. Would you at least let her know that we wanted her? I mean, could be flattering for her. So I don't know. This is very confusing for me. Can we please change the subject? It was very uncomfortable. And then they made me feel guilty. These are people that know me too well. It's unfair that she doesn't know that she was offered this, And I said to her in front of my husband, who I knew was going to say no, I said, Valentina, you should be very flattered because some people wanted you to do the voice of this, the movie. And of course, you're not going to do it, but she goes, why not? And then my husband, who's driving, turns around and goes, why not? I go, because she's not going to be an actress. I'm not really for children actors. I go, really? Are you asking me this question now? And he says, no, but it's not acting. It's just the voice. I said, that's acting. That's very insulting. And he said, yes, but people are not going to see her. But they're going to know it's her. So we made a deal. She is going to try to go do the voice if she gets the part. And I told her, it's not an audition. They just have to see if your voice matches the character, or maybe it's too young too old, so that she wouldn't feel. They can use the voice, and we make up a name. So nobody will know that it's you, but you have the great experience. So we went in, and she was gonna do a little test, and it took me 2 days to do the voice in French, and I really struggled. She started, and the director goes, continue, give her the other line. And she did the whole movie like in an hour. And when it's time to cry, I'm like, okay, and but shut up, Mom. No, shut up, be quiet, let me look. And then she was reading, and then we start to cry. She starts to cry, and I'm like, oh my God, I've traumatized. And then when it's over, she's like, not crying anymore, on to the next line. And everybody was like, wow, bravo. And then she goes, was it really that great? No, it was beyond. The sound engineer, I've never seen anything like it. Was I really that good? Yes. Well, then I think I deserve my name on it. And she started that campaign.
Like mother, like daughter. Here, yes.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Muy bien, gracias. De antemano y en el nombre de los 48 millones de habitantes colombianos,
Oh my God, I have to translate de antemano. How do you say? Beforehand. Oh yeah, it's literal. Beforehand.
te queremos agradecer por el excelente trabajo que hiciste con Yo Soy Betty la Fea y transformarlo al formato americano, ¿verdad? Mil,
He's
mil gracias.
thanking me for Betty la Fea because it was a Colombian telenovela. I know, Ugly Betty. I'm translating in Spanish, saying it again in Spanish. For translating it, for transforming it into the American system.
Para nosotros los actores latinos eres una heroína, esa es la palabra, ¿ok?
Thank you so much.
Heroína.
He's an actor. He says for us, the Latin actors, you are a heroine.
La pregunta es la siguiente. ¿Qué tiene que hacer un actor, como en el caso pasó contigo, que viene de una trayectoria de novelas y que está rompiendo esquemas en un país donde somos diferentes para muchos? ¿Qué tiene?
What does an actor that comes from one of our countries has to do to break esquemas? Ayuden. Eh? No, it's not. You said the right word? No. No, it's not stereotypes. It's maybe barriers to enter into the system. Paradigms.
¿Qué tiene que hacer un actor como yo para algún día cumplir el sueño de trabajar con una excelente actriz como tú?
Thank you very much. What does an actor like me has to do to one day fulfill the dream of one day working with an actress like you? First thing, you need to learn how to speak English.
A little.
First thing, you have to work in the English if you want to work here, and it's really hard, but you really, it's very, very important because it's part of your instrument to communicate. Then, even if other people see you different, it's very important that you never see yourself different. If you don't, then eventually they will just see what you are. Sometimes when the really dangerous thing about stereotypes, and I realized this when I came to the United States, I realized that somebody comes up with a stereotype, and then some of us, just to fit in, become it. Because otherwise, there's not really an identity in certain worlds, is it? So I think what's very, very important is that what you see in you, and you should never see yourself different. You should never be hurt by racism. It's really not your problem. It's their problem. And it should not, it only has power if you give it away, if you give it away. It only has power if it hurts you. So if it hurts you, you're feeding that beast. So I say, you have to work hard and always know that you are a man that can be many other men, and that you're no different than somebody that was born here, that is also a man that can be any other man. Feed your talent with other talent. I think it helps a lot for me to get inspired by other actresses, other actors, paintings, music, all kinds of art, poetry. It continue. Don't let your frustration starve your talent, because your energy is going there. And that's it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Kicking
so
us out. It's not me.
now we have to have a.
I can take some pictures.
I just want to remind everybody to please wait while the extraordinary Salma Hayek leaves us,
Thank you
unfortunately.
so. Thank you for coming. Very, very much. Thank you. Shukran. Gracias. Merci beaucoup.